Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Timeless Podcast. Here today for the episode 1 of Doctor Who Flux. I'm joined by Beef. If you are not watching on the YouTubes and you're listening on the streaming platforms, how are you, Beef?
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Timeless Podcast. Yes.
Are you well?
Yeah, it's splendiferous. It's a new week, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new flux for me.
It's a new flux, absolutely. For this podcast, not much preamble, so there's not much news to talk about because we're currently in the Doctor Who sphere. So all I'll say is
the marketing is said and done. The adverts are there, whether you've seen them or not. The only other bit of news that, unless you covered it, is going to be the upcoming museum tour that presumably will have something from this season showing up in that, which will be kicking off May next year in Liverpool and then hopefully going on the tour of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these things are brilliant for the show, just to have a little bit of a traveling circus thing. It can't be, unfortunate, it can't be much worse than the other big attraction for Doctor Who, Time Fracture, which has, since our review, literally flooded at least.
I was going to say imploded, but yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
It may be opening again, reports say, yeah.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, so hopefully the museum won't get so easily flooded.
Yeah.
I think
it's Liverpool based, so it's going to be tying in with what we've seen, this weekend just gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if you guys had watched my initial reaction to the Halloween apocalypse, this is going to be more about, like I said, a long form review type thing where we chat a bit more, rather than me editing myself and cutting myself down to about 5 minutes. But yeah, so I'll give a quick rundown of it. So we start off with the Doctor and Yaz on their adventures on some green planet. And they are locked up in cuffs, and they are essentially prisoners of this creature. And the creature says, if you're going to escape, I will kill you. They somehow escape. They get to the TARDIS. They have a nice little land on a cushion or something. And then the Doctor has a vision of a creature escaping, and it essentially says, I'm going to end the world, mate. And then the TARDIS starts leaking and malfunctioning throughout the episode. The Doctor and Yaz land in Liverpool, where they bump into this character called Claire, who has already met the Doctor and Yaz, but we have not met her yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how she fits in. As well as this, we kind of meet up with Dan, who is a lovely man from Liverpool, who just seems like the nicest bloke. He gets captured by a dog called Carvanista, who has a lightning axe or something. And that's kind of where our story is set. Would you say?
Well, it's sort of, yeah. We have, before that, we have a little interlude 201 years earlier.
Oh, we do.
In Liverpool itself. With the digging of some tunnels, which also get a mention in the museum where we first meet Dan. In the background, what are called the Williamson Tunnels, which are a set of tunnels that do actually exist in Liverpool. And on all accounts, Mr. Weems has a plan why they're being built for something that he said is catastrophic. But as it stands in present day, it is a bit of an unsolved mystery. They don't know the purpose of what these Williamson tunnels were. They think he was a philanthropist and was just basically doing it to employ the poor of Liverpool who were out of work and sort of to keep people out of the workhouse. Philanthropy through work. So, but yeah, it adds to it's an extra mystery that we actually don't have a proper answer to today. So that's I suppose that's something that's going to pay off down the line as well.
Absolutely. And Beef, I'm going to go to you because I think you're a fair man, but you're one of the people that have, how do I put, not enjoyed this era as much as others.
Yeah, I haven't been the greatest fan up until now.
That could already answer my question. What do you think of Doctor Who Flux episode 1, part 1?
I definitely think it's it's sort of twofold. It's definitely a step up. It's definitely a positive thing, and it's a lot more action orientated. I'm not saying that that I get turned on by action or anything like that. It's not a case of that at all. But I think it's. Do you know what? This has given us a glimpse of potential of like what we could have had for the previous two series. It's a little bit frustrating that this is the like last knock-ins, and we've only just got something like this now, and it's sort of like I feel like, oh god, do you know what I mean? Why have we not had to wait till what is like the way out before you get something really good?
Yeah,
it's definitely a step up. And an improvement, and it does, I think it was something that you said last night, or I think in your reaction video, and it's something that I agree with, is that this was the first time that I've watched an episode and thought, oh, well, maybe next week will be better. Or it would be like, oh, I wouldn't mind actually seeing the next episode now. I'd like to see that now. Yeah. So that's the first time I've had that. So from that as a sort of initial viewing experience, that's a lot better. There's still room for improvement. I think there is a lot of room for improvement to it. We'll get into that as we go along. I mean, the opening stuff with the humour's still a little bit forced in some respects. But certainly, I think at the start it was a bit cringy. It was a bit cringy.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. And obviously I was on the Spaces with John Cook straight after the episode, and we spoke about how I think we talked about, first of all, on this. Well done, Chris. There wasn't as much exposition this time.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing is that those a lot of the trailer stuff that we saw was like, and someone I think on Twitter had the same sort of thinking, that it was like basically what we're going to see, those flashes of the Doctor in peril and Yaz in peril, is basically the intervening of what we were doing between now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was possibly one of it's probably the worst scene for exposition, because I remember I watched that first minute and I went, as soon as Jodie started explaining the handcuffs, oh my god, they're voice activated. And I said, you could have just shown that they were voice activated by her speaking into them.
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, I'd say straight away the first thing that came to my attention was the dynamic change with the Doctor and Yaz. Yaz, this series, obviously they've been traveling a lot longer. She's not taking any of the Doctor's shit anymore. She's like, no, I'm onto you. I know straight away. I like that dynamic change this time.
I think there's certainly a part of the questioning aspect to challenge the Doctor. Now, is it a bit? I don't know whether it's jumping the shark with Yaz to all of a sudden make her like a super duper Yaz co-pilot. I'm not sure. She's definitely seems more. She's got more agency, I think, is the best way to describe it. Is it too much? I don't know. We'll see as time goes on. It certainly seemed to be a hell of a leap forward from what we've had previously.
All I will say to that is, and this is just me playing devil's advocate, is you don't know how long they've been traveling. And I think, to be fair, with there being a new companion, and if that's the way they're going to differentiate them, that makes sense. First of all, as well, this story was helped immediately by the fact there's less of a TARDIS team. Everyone had something to do. Which is kind of the point of the crew, and we didn't get none of that. So let's quickly.
Apart from Dan, who didn't have much to do.
Yeah, but then again, though, his service in this story was to be introduced, wasn't it? And then that's kind of every companion's first episode, isn't it? Is to sort of happened
to Dan, but Dan doesn't do anything, which is the only downside.
But then again,
I think there's something more about Dan that we haven't had yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this story is all about trying to sell us on Dan as a character and John Bishop, who I have to say did a tremendous job. I was sold on Dan within the first minute of him being on screen. I like his character. I like how he is. I think, but Chibnall did so much better characterization for him in 2 minutes than he did for Ryan in 2 series. I think it was brilliant. I think
it's someone who's like a comedian as well. They because I think the nature of what they do, you have to engender a sort of an affection or a reaction from an audience straight away, and he has that likability factor. So it's a very good casting in the sense of to find someone to replace, for the argument's sake, Bradley Walsh, a Graham type character. You've got someone who's got an instant likability factor.
Oh, absolutely. And I think overall, that was instant. I think with him just I still love the line, what is the point of living if it's not to make others happy? Some actual good lines that aren't too cringy. We always have some Doctor Who lines that are a bit over the top, a bit gusto. I think that could fit into any era. I could certainly see Moffat writing that, for example. You even have the Tom Baker line, there's no point being grown up, you can't be childish sometimes. That fitting lovely. The fact that he works at the food bank, doesn't take the soup, and then you just see visually the fact that he literally has nothing, instead of him telling the person, oh, I have no food, you keep the food. Triple this time thought, I have a camera and I can show this on the screen. Which is finally he's learned that. And then he gets attacked by, my favourite character of Flux so far, Carvanista. What a don, but we'll get to a bit later. What do you make of the TARDIS sort of decaying? I thought that was, in terms of set design and stuff, I thought it was brilliant. Seeing the TARDIS move and the door move and the door in the middle of the ground. I thought,
what's the deal with the melty crystals? I don't know, because the swarm is has like a crystalline element to it.
Yeah.
So whether there's some sort of
it's interesting, isn't it?
A connection in some way between it. I mean, the thing that I liked, because obviously, you're saying like about the mental glitch and the Flash where you first meet the swarm, and it's like it's mental link reconnected. So it's inferring that there's something that was there before. So that's quite good. I like that.
I'm with you on that. And I think, again, this is the issue with being chapter one of a long form story, is that there's a lot of questions right now, not a lot of answers. We won't be able to really talk about this until you come back for episode 6.
There's a lot of setup to this, but if you're making a 6-part overarching story, this has to be the one where there's a lot of setup.
That is the point. Yeah, I think overall it's done a very, very good job. I also want to say as well, I don't want to beat over the head, but really, really good disability representation. I know our good friend John Cook has spoken about it. Also, I think was it the Guardian or the Telegraph? Fuck you. Whoever wrote that fucking
it just seems to be like way picking it apart, because and I think the representation is important, because the disability isn't a definition of their character. It doesn't define who they are, and it doesn't play a point. It's just actual on-screen representation. So it's not tokenism for tokenism's sake. It's an actor, and that's the actor for the part. By chance, they happen to have a disability. So what?
It was the Telegraph, and the person said that it was, did you have volunteers at a food bank and a disabled girlfriend on your box-ticking bingo card? Look, I'm going to be honest, if you're at this point in 2021 and you're still alive and you think, disabled people or people of colour are box-ticking, get over yourself. It's like...
This is a storyline that was written during the pandemic. There are a lot of people going through hardship. So the idea of food banks and everything like that really isn't an unusual thing in today's society now. So it's not like you're virtue signaling. I believe what they call it is virtue signaling. You're not doing anything like that. You're just actually something that is actually very common these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's brilliant that that the character of Diane as well. Like you said, the disability was not her character. She just was a character who happened to be disabled. And again, it's a shame that we didn't really get that with Ryan. I thought that could have worked really well, but unfortunately, again, Cristiano decided to kind of pick that up as and when he wanted to, instead of have it be a consistent thing. And also, I think, like John said as well, we said it all over Twitter on Spaces, it's important that we have a disabled character in a relationship storyline with somebody who isn't disabled, because normally in television and stuff, you see just either they put two disability characters together or you just don't get it. So I think it's brilliant that, you know, it wasn't brought to attention that she was
people living normal lives. Obviously, it's within the confines of a science fiction series with aliens and everything like that. Exactly. But it's people, but you know what I'm saying? It's like people having a normal life, and that's what it should be.
Absolutely, and also I think it's, you know, just a brilliant bit of characterization for Dan already, because you see the fact that he is just a lovely man. You know, a man who puts everyone before him, literally. Like, he has no food in his fridge, but he still bought sweets for the kids on Halloween.
Yeah, he's you get the idea that he's selfless. And think that, I think, that's it. The core of the person is good. So, that I like. And I think there's more to Dan than we realise. Why was it that Corvinista's ship hit a time, a time Eddie and him ended up being the first one picked up? Why did the Swarm, or let's call them Swarm 1 and Swarm 2 for argument's sake, why did they kidnap Claire? Because they have no clue who Dan is.
Yeah, exactly. So
why abduct Claire unless there's something to Dan that we don't know about? This is why this one person is outside of the loop.
Yeah, as well. I want to say as well. I know we always spoke about the writing, but I thought Jodie's always been brilliant for me in terms of her performance. I think the writing was actually better for this time. There was less, I'm gonna say, Tennant-isms. She was much more her own sort of character. I like the fact that she made her own little references. So, like, when she landed saying, "Oh, Klopp era, like Liverpool," I thought that was a nice little funny line. But then she didn't beat you around the head with it whatsoever. There was never a bit where I went, "Oh my god!" Like, they made her say this, for example. I thought it was always
I mean, there wasn't like fan or anything like that. None of the like noticeably cringe stuff. Like I think while Jodie was serviceable. This is my only sort of bugbear with this episode. Is, if anything, the Doctor was the least interesting part of this episode.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's the only thing that sort of got to me, to be honest with you, because it's like my questions coming out of this was, why is it Claire? Why have they abducted Claire? Why is Dan more interesting? And look, like I say, I enjoyed it and everything like that, but this is my only bugbear.
No,
what is the situation? What's the situation with Anna going into like in essence, like an infinite loop type thing?
Yeah.
But the one thing that what's the deal with what's his name, Vinda? Or the division set up with the Swarm.
I just want to apologize.
The Doctor was actually the least interesting part of this.
I just want to quickly apologize. I think we got some names mixed up. So it's actually Diane, who is Dan's, and Claire is the person that gets abducted. So sorry if there was any names mixed up. Those are the two different characters. Yeah, I know. I'm with you, and I think as well, it's all going to divulge back into the Doctor and with the division and stuff. I have to say as well, I think they've gone the best route of dealing with the Timeless Child arc to kind of calm it down, but still keep it a thing. And this is my thing. I really like the dynamic of a villain that knows the Doctor really, really, really well, but the Doctor has no idea who they are. So this character already has this high up of an edge before the Doctor can get going. And the fact of the matter is, as well, I want to say this new villain, Swarm, brilliant. I think, but I think overall those two, like, immediately, the makeup for both the characters looks really good, I think. Very scary.
Apart from like really heavy glittery eyeshadow.
Yeah, I think the effect of the disintegration looks terrifying. I think, because overall we have to remember as well, Doctor Who is a family show. They need to try and get that scare factor back. And I think if you watched it as a really, like, maybe 8 to 12-year-old, you would be quite scared. Not only that, you get a weeping angel scene in this. pretty damn cool. I wish we didn't get that promo image because I probably wouldn't have put. I mean, obviously I saw the filming pictures, but I probably wouldn't have put two and two together that was the exact scene. So if we didn't get the promo image of the Weeping Angels,
even then, they built the tension with it really well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best the Weeping Angels have been since Blink in that one scene alone.
And to a certain degree, you had a similar element there, which is you had a character who
knew about
meets the Doctor out and knows about them and meets the Doctor out of sequence. So that little thing is like a very, very Blink type capsule.
Absolutely, and I think as well, I'd say I love the visual. I love the scenario of her having to try and put the keys and having to give quick glimpses. I also, as a fan, obviously as a filmmaker myself, love the shot of the eye where you just see the angel and you see like the tension within the eye, and it's like trying really hard not to blink, and she does. And you just, I like the fact as well that the angel is covering their face. You know, we haven't seen the face properly yet. We saw a quick glimpse, it switched away. I think it's brilliant. But what does the angel want with her specifically? What purpose does she play in all this? You know, it seems that there's a lot of. It's like a game of chess so far. You're sort of like,
it is. It's like I'm going home the long way round, and it's Halloween, so they know what's happening.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it interesting, because the only other times that we've seen the angels really is that they've been sent back so far that there's no loop, but this is a potential of a loop, to be honest with you. So it's only a very short hop back, but it's going to be happening over and over again. So what's going to break the cycle? So that is an interesting form.
Absolutely. As well, I have to say, we'll quickly talk about Vinda because you did bring him up briefly. Obviously, not much him in this story. We know, or this episode, we know we're going to get more of him as the series progresses. Jacob Anderson is brilliant. I think he is. I'm not even seen Game of Thrones, but some of the things where he is fantastic. He's brilliant here as well. The writing for him as well seems very genuine. I don't know. Like, I mean, I was saying this to you. I said long form storytelling could really play to Chibnall. And I do hope this works. So far, the characters feel more real. None of them feel kind of like base cardboard cutouts. And even Vinda in his two scenes, he immediately has a personality that you sort of like.
Yeah, that's it. I'm wondering what the deal with this is, because I sort of worked it, because I did the maths, because I love maths anyway. It's because he said it was like. He said it was reports 61,000, 200 and something or other. If you worked it out with one report a day, 365 days, it works out that basically he'd been there like 60 years. Because obviously he signed off at the end of the message with like, screw you, I hate you. So whether he's there on like a punishment detail, he's still I think a commander or a lieutenant or something like that. He has a rank. But whether it's like he's being punished and that's why he's been put on this outpost, like giving like pointless reports for something that's never going to change. So it seems like that perhaps he's on a punishment detail. But we'll find out with this as we go on. And what's he affiliated to? What organisation is he affiliated to?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another interesting part of this puzzle is that we don't know. We've been told. I think
we know the initial parts of these ones, but we want the other bits of the puzzle to fit together. So I suppose from that point of view, like you say, the long form storytelling, you want to start then putting the puzzle pieces together, like they've done with some of the sort of guerrilla marketing, with like the real world clues and stuff like that in the run up to the show. Maybe that's what they're doing. It's the idea of putting puzzle pieces together, and how Doctor Who fans like to see patterns where there aren't any.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, there's not much more to talk about, Vinda. We'll quickly talk about. So we'll talk. I need to get the names right here. I've got Azure. The other part, the sister of Swarm, who for some reason was a human lady. So I don't know how that works, or whether she was disguised as a human lady, kind of like a chameleon arc, or whether we took over her body.
I think so. I think this ties into the division. I think whatever it is, because we've had the Swarm and we've worked out by process of elimination that the guns are identical. Swarm have been imprisoned since the dawn of time. They don't know how long Swarm's been imprisoned there in this giant antenna type thing and everything like that. Um, but I do think that if you remember Fugitive of the Jadoo,
I do indeed.
yeah,
yeah.
You've got a precedent that the fugitive doctor was basically memory wipe, deep undercover, comedian arch, and then there was a member of the division apportioned to guard them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's going to be something akin to that, which is why you had like the guy who we thought at that point in time was their husband. Hiding with it. So yeah, that's what it is. It's the idea of a prisoner not knowing that they're a prisoner, and by the looks of it, in a very beneficial relationship with the jailer.
So this, I mean, I'm kind of giving you the graveyard slot, mate, because we've got a lot of questions and not many answers. It's again another let's talk about possibly like the biggest chunk of the story, which is the Doctor trying to essentially help Dan after he gets taken by Carvanista. I have to say, I do love the back and forth between Dan and Carvanista at the beginning, where Dan thinks it's a costume and stuff. It's simple comedy, but sometimes the simple jokes, Chibnall, work the best.
It doesn't have to be completely cringy. It's sort of and it's John Bishop is we can't get away from the fact that he's from Liverpool, so the reactions are like very similar to what you would expect someone from Liverpool to have. To be honest with you, there'll have to be subtitles to explain what the busies are, which is what they call the police up in Liverpool. But I like that. He's not afraid to speak his mind as well. They've got the humour right. To be honest with you, I like the idea that Corvinista hasn't got like a RP, BBC accent as well. He's got a regional accent as well. So that's quite cool.
I do like.
Reminds me of Mark Addy a bit.
No, totally. Yeah, and he was wasted, unfortunately, in Battle of Runscroft, of course. But I think as well, another thing I would like, again, it's a simple joke, but it's funny. The fact that the people coming to save the humans is people that look like dogs. Man's best friend comes to save man. I like that. It's simple, but it's funny. And the fact that they really don't like humans and they think they're worthless and they keep them in cages, again, it's funny. It works.
When Carvanista first showed up, he said he was going to kill Dan.
Yeah.
Whether that was just because he didn't want to fucking do it, I don't know. It's sort of like, probably it was, but sort of like, I think as well is that, everyone sort of put together the idea of dog and man's best friend before the Doctor says it. So, I mean, that's it. It was like you don't need to say it because you don't have to have that. Everyone sort of works it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's good.
I think as well, another thing is that I'll give to this. The story already had full momentum because the Doctor has obviously been chasing Carvanista for some time, which helped the fact that it saved a scene or two of the Doctor explaining who she was to Carvanista and why she was looking for. We already had that out of the way, so we can just get on with it, which gave it much more full momentum. The fact as well that Carvanista has this personality, so he's already done with the Doctor and just sort of wants rid of her because she's just annoying him. With a brilliant back and forth as well. I thought
you also get the idea that the Doctor has prejudged Carvanista when actually the purpose of his mission is actually something good. So
yes. No, absolutely, and I also like the subversion of expectation of that they think when the Doctor uses her sonic and sees the fleet coming in, she thinks that it's invasion fleet. Actually, no, it's not. But Carvanista has also no idea that they're so close or something. So there's also Carvanista's not been told all the details either. So he's like, "What are the ships?" And then he finds out there's more ships. So it lends you to go, "There's more to this. There's something not clicking with everyone." And it's sort of interesting. And this sort of all builds up, doesn't it, to the sort of final moments, which I think it like obviously we both said at the start of this, it was the first time that we wanted to go, yeah, give us next week. One of the most brilliant cliffhangers, I think, of the Whittaker of Doctor Who in some time. Like you're gonna have to go back a while, I think, for a cliffhanger like this, and the build up to that with all the pieces in the puzzle, because there's so much going on. You get the Doctor who has like a mind memory thing, and she just sees things begin to get wiped out, and he's like, Earth is soon. I'm going to take away Earth from you. And you get the bit where Yaz and Dad are like, hang about, you can't get rid of Earth. And then you realize that essentially the Doctor can't do anything. This is the first time where the Doctor in this era is essentially has nothing that she can do at all. She is entirely powerless, and you just have to watch it happen. And I love the line, I never knew what the end of the universe would look like, and that's where you end your story.
Yeah.
I think it's just a phenomenal ending, because you end the episode going, what the, you're like, where do we go from here? Obviously the Flux isn't devouring planets as it may seem, because obviously the Doctor and Kel are back next week, so they've been teleported somewhere, or they've been
I think the cloister bell as well sort of indicates that there's something more to this as well. So there's like a nice callback on that too as well, that this is something that's a bit more than like your run-of-the-mill type thing. There's a little bit there for classic fans. There's the ship that that Vinder's on is called Rose. That you've got your Scottish reference about the seventh and your Capaldi Doctor and everything like that. You've got all of that stuff there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Your Nitro 9 mention. So there's little bits of like little nifty little callbacks too.
And I must mention as well, we see the return of Dan Starkey as well. Not as Strax, but he's there. What do you make of New Sontaran design? Actually, I didn't like it in the stills as much. Seeing it in the actual episode though, I thought, do you know what? I like it.
Yeah, I believe what was it? Someone said dirty Sontarans in the run up to the show, and not being funny, the sort of the tongue licking and everything like that. Sort of, it says a lot, really. It's only I thought it was quite interesting. What's it called? It's sort of monitoring the psychic frequencies. Yeah. Sometimes monitoring psychic frequencies. Okay, well, taking what it is. And what it's going to lead to is certainly going to be interesting. Do I like the design? Yeah, I like it. It's got away from the comedy aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think as well, obviously, this builds in to next week's War of the Sontarans, which is going to be good to actually have a Sontaran story where they're menacing and evil again. That's nice, because genuinely, I think the best thing since New Who has actually been the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, or the story, because I tell you the two parts. We had that one, I think it was Commander Carl, who obviously was part of the Series 4 fleet, but actually has his own little story with the Sarah Jane. And that is actually better than the Series 4 story for me, just as a complete piece.
I'm interested as into what they're going to do. I mean, how we get there, I don't know. I mean, the war that we want to see really would be the Sontaran Rutan War. That would be the big battle. So I don't know what this one is. So, like I say, I'm going to be interested to see it. That's it. It's like I say, it's hard when you've got something that is just pure setup like this. It's tough.
Yeah,
but I do like it that there's more avenues. Now, the only thing I would say is that I hope it all works out well, because people always used to lambast Stephen Moffat for making storylines over complex.
Yeah.
and then this is what you're having with the series. We're having a lot of threads run into it. Personally, I didn't have a problem with it because that's the sort of thing that I like. I don't know how well this is going to work for a. This isn't really what I would say a jumping on point for a new viewer. That's the only thing that I would say that this isn't. It's basically for people who've already watched the show.
I mean,
so I'm only hoping that it will just by nature of the scale of it garner more people, because unfortunately if they don't jump on now,
it did well. It did well in the figures. It did well. I
have no idea what they were.
It was second for the day, so. It was I think Strictly beat it by like 100k. It got like 4.48, I think. So I think Strictly Strictly got like 4.6 or something. So second for the day. I mean, look, viewer figures are different. I think the 7 day consolidated when you get the
that's the more valid figure to look at is the +7s, which is the consolidated numbers. That's where you want to gauge it by then.
And I think if Doctor Who can get to about 6 to 7 mil, more than happy with that. I don't see the BBC.
That's it. Then that's like a level sort of for where the show is, and I think if you can keep it at that level, then that's good. I mean, we know it's not getting cancelled anyway. We know it's not getting cancelled. We know it's not going away. We know Russell T Davies is coming, and everyone's prayers are answered.
But like I said,
it's not that.
I'm happy this is good, because I feel like if it wasn't good, everyone would just be talking about Russell now and being like, but the fact that it's got good critic reviews, people on Twitter are mostly positive, and that's there.
Yeah, I think that's it. To be honest with you, I haven't actually been on social media that much last night, tonight. I mean, there's quite a few people within our social group that we know anyway who were busy last night, and they said, you know what, I'll get to it, I'll watch it. And they watched it, they enjoyed it, and that's great. Maybe as things progress and everything like that, then it might become like an event show that people will have to watch on the night when it airs and everything like that. Who knows? Yeah, as tension builds, as the story develops.
Obviously, you're watching. We're not watching episode 2 live, and you won't be watching episode 6 live either, because you'll be watching other Doctor Who's. I mean, I'll be here for episode 6, so who knows? I might live stream it. I've got nothing to do. I'll be sat in my flat on my own.
I feel sorry for you, mate.
No, it's okay, man. You'll be drinking at the bar, having a good time. I'll be drinking here, crying. I'm so alone. But yeah, I think this is genuinely, like you said, to wrap up for me. It's hard to give a number score, but I will, because I know you guys like your number scores, so you can sort of like top it up. For me, it's a very, very, very solid opener. I think the fact as well that Beef has rewatched it and still has that positivity.
Like I say, I watched it the first time. I watched it when it went out. Yeah. And then immediately I went back and watched it again. And I thought, okay, is there anything I've missed, or
was it first time bias? And then when you actually rewatch it, you go, and the fact you've come away watched it.
That's it. Yeah, I think, because the thing is, you can always be guilty of, when the show comes back, getting caught up in a hype type thing, a hype train.
Yeah.
So I always want to go back and watch it a second time and say, right, okay, well, even though I know what's going to happen and everything like that, let's look and dig a little deeper and see what I can find to it. And that's why the only thing that I said to you, which I would have said was the only negative point, was that there wasn't actually much interest in your principal character of the show. If I could have changed that, then that would be the only thing that I would have liked to have changed a little bit more.
So what would you give out? What would you give out of 10 as a starting point of a 6-part? Like, I think you have to gauge it on this. How much has it got you hyped for the rest of the story going forward? How, like,
I
has it
mean,
intrigued
yeah.
you? I suppose that's his job, isn't it, to intrigue you and make, you know.
Yeah, within the realms of intrigue, yes, it's made me more interested in the larger parts of it. I think there were some aspects of the VFX, certainly at the start, which was purely VFX, that was a little bit ropey. But the rest of the effects throughout the rest of the episode were a lot better. There's a lot of jumping from locations and a lot of title cards, which is another Chibnall trope, I suppose.
I like a time card.
But I would say if I had to put a number figure on it, I would say 7.25, which I think as an opener is pretty solid, to be honest. There's very few that I've seen that, you know, like push like the Mines as a series opener. But I would say this is a solid one when it's pure setup. There's a lot of plot there.
Yeah. I'm going to go so hard, and I'm going to go for an 8. I think, like we said, because overall there isn't much wrong with it, and we actually have been, you know, positive. Essentially, it hasn't been what was there was rubbish. We've said what hasn't been, but because it's the first part of a 6-part adventure, we're not expecting that, but we can't really give it a 10 yet.
I went into this with low expectations, and you know, I think that's just purely because I haven't really gelled with it. I think one of the things that they did well was that Yaz said that she's a former police officer, so that's got rid of like that milestone around the neck. Like, depower Yaz a little bit, dial it a little bit. Like I say, character develop Yaz, but don't overcompensate for not doing it before.
Don't do a Clara. Don't do a Clara.
Yeah, that's my only concern with the other thing, because it's sort of like we've had like that overcompensation for character development. Don't make it like too bullshit that she gets irritating, which sort of Clara did to a little degree. But yeah, there's a lot of plot, not much story, but based on the structure that we know they're going to do, that's what you got. That's what this is going to be.
I'm fundamentally with that. And as a wrap up, thank you, Beef, for joining me on the show.
Pleasure.
But Beef will hopefully be back on episode 6. So we get everyone to do episodes 1 to 5 for an episode 6 sort of recap, and we can all chat about what we thought. But next week is War of the Sultanas, going to be joined by Owen. But the initial reaction might be joined with Reese Marshall, because we'll be watching it in the hotel room after we've been drinking at BFI. So either I've got to film it in the corner like he's not there, or he'll actually just join me on camera, and then we'll do it that way. But yeah, Beef, honestly, thank you so much. You can follow Beef on Twitter at the Beefhead if you want some fun beef tweets, because there's some corkers on there.
Seldomly and very niche, yeah.
Yeah, on occasion there were some brilliant tweets. So whenever he decides to come up with a brilliant tweet,
moments of clarity. Yeah,
moments of clarity. Yeah, man. Thank you guys all for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This is the first part of 6. So take it easy. Take care, everyone. We'll see you guys all soon.
Bye-bye. Flux off.